Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Rizwana Manjur, and this is Women Who Lead, a series where we sit down and get personal with female leaders in the marketing, advertising, and communications industry across the region in conjunction with International Women's Day 2026. We have in the studio with us today Dione Song, CEO of Love Bonito. Dione has been with Love Bonito for over 8.5 years and started off as COO and CMO there. Despite being an angel investor and advisor for several brands, Dione was previously heading digital marketing and e-commerce at Sephora and was also the MD of Zalora. So without further ado, let's welcome Dione. Happy to have you here in the studio with us.
Hi, Res.
It's
Happy
so nice
to be here.
So nice to have you. And earlier we were talking about us both fasting, water fasting, and fasting. So this is going to be a very zen conversation.
Indeed.
Okay, so we'll start off easy. So you successfully steered Love Bonito from a local blog shop to a global D2C direct-to-consumer powerhouse. And if we take you back to 8 years ago with a marketer background first and then stepping into the CEO role, what was the first order of business for you? What was your priority?
I think my first order started before actually I even joined Love Bonito. Actually, quite interestingly, I think two prompts, right? So one was really sort of like on the brand side of things, and Rich and I, we joke about this even today. And I know joining as a newly hired person, right, to a founder-led business, of course it's a very different experience.
Yeah.
Right, and of course it's a very, very personal experience, especially for the founders, right? Rich and Viola back then.
Yeah.
One of the things I felt quite strongly about back then was really around the branding and the logo and the identity. So then I actually did ask them, I was like, hey, would you be comfortable sort of doing this? Then I even asked them, can you maybe put it in the contract also? I'm not even negotiating for anything else. I'll put that in the contract. And I want us to commit to it, okay, that you're comfortable and you will allow the change, and of course we'll work through that change together.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me as then a marketeer also, I think it was very important, right? Because I think all these things, end of the day, a lot of things when it comes to branding, it is very personal.
Yeah.
It is also very subjective. And sometimes it's, I think it's not so black and white.
Yeah.
And I just wanted that to be something that we committed to. Right. And I felt that was a very important part, right,
Yeah.
of just us evolving eventually, right, into a more international brand. So yeah, we talked about logo, colors, all of that. So, oh, can we change this? What is your comfort level? Are you okay? Are you not okay?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want sort of that misalignment or that shock, right?
Yeah.
After I joined.
Yeah.
Right. And then everyone gets a little bit upset, right? Or you have to tiptoe around everything.
Yeah.
And of course, for me then to not push it, right, in a way that maybe it's disrespectful or it's outside their comfort zone. So I think it's best that we have all these conversations actually before even starting. So we were actually all quite busy then, I guess, working before
the
the
work even
official
began.
start. Exactly. Then I think the other thing that I did spend some time on before the work started also was, I think when Rach reached out, which of course, right, I think very, very honored, right? I was like, hey, why do you think I'm a good fit? And for me, it was also about, am I truly actually a good fit, right? Can I get to know a little bit more of your team for myself as well? And just to also see if I can actually cover the gaps that you think I can cover, right? And these are truly also the gaps that we should be covering. So I asked to meet the team before joining, went to the office, I think met actually almost all the teams. I still remember had this massive like Google sheet, different tabs, one tab for each person.
Yeah.
Just asking questions right around like, motivation, just understanding their scope first, but also motivation, what they're looking for as well in their own careers for moving forward. Because I found that I think in a startup environment, which I've also experienced before, but I think in a startup environment especially, a lot of times as employees, you're kind of there also for the ride, right, as it moves, and it's very fast. But you end up also, after time, sometimes doing things and taking on things that maybe if you took a pause, hand to heart, right, and ask yourself, actually, is this what I want to do? Or is this what I want for myself in the future? Sometimes maybe not. It's not fully aligned. And there's no fault, right, of the founders or whatnot. But it's truly because, I think we're going through a time where things are just moving so fast. Something needs to sit with someone, right? The structures are just not that clean, and it just happens. So it's just important just to understand, right? I think the lay of the land, where's everyone at, what gaps they also saw for themselves in the business, to then see if I could help. But then of course for me to also see, is this also the culture that I want to be a part of?
Right. Yeah.
And if things aren't there, if there are some things that are not working out, can I change them as well? Like,
Yeah.
do I know how to change them?
Yeah.
Because if I don't, then that conversation for me to have a rage as well.
Yeah.
I'd be like, actually,
Did you know each other prior to you joining that she reached out to you? Is that how it came around? Or?
we got to know each other gradually
Okay.
over the first year of encountering
Yeah,
each
okay.
other. Like, yeah, she was hosting a women's networking event actually.
Yeah, okay.
And back then it was hosted at the Love Bonito office. That one dinner was actually at the Love Bonito office, right?
That's nice, yeah.
Coincidentally.
Yeah.
And then I went for the dinner, got to meet her that day. But to be honest, we didn't get to talk so much that day because it was a pretty long table. But we kept in touch after. And then just got to know each other lah, over the course of several meetups.
Yeah.
Caught up for
That's amazing.
drinks. Just build up a friendship first, right?
Did you
yeah.
worry that you would be the outsider coming in, and would you be like the third wheel in some ways?
Yeah. That definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
I think in a founder-led business, it's different, right? Right. I think I was thinking about that, but also more about the dynamics. How are the dynamics like? Right? Is it gonna be comfortable?
Yeah.
Is there anything tricky?
Yeah.
That I need to know about?
Yeah.
Is it gonna be like hard to navigate? Because
Yeah.
I do think then it's a little bit, in that way, a bit more nuanced and a bit trickier than maybe joining like an MNC sometimes, where it's just a corporate structure, right? That you are
You're
just
part of
becoming
the-
a part
yeah,
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit different.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have so many questions based on that. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, you've always talked about keeping it real. Do you think being a marketer helped you in some ways keep it real as a CEO? And I guess my second part to that question is also, being a marketer first, are you then harder on the marketing that happens in Bonito?
Yeah. Whether it helps with keeping it real, I'm not sure. Okay, I think part of the marketing gig, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, we can debate this. First, you learn how to package things well, right? But package things, of course, right? I think so true to its core.
Yeah.
But you know how to brand it well. I think you know how to package it better. You know how to phrase it better.
Yeah.
Prior to Love Bonito, I think being a marketer, for sure, I think maybe helped me to become a lot more conscious and intentional about how I am presenting myself. All right. And even if you're in a room, if you're doing a presentation, small group, big group, like it starts with even reading the room, right? Like what is the room like? Or how are they reacting? What are their expressions, facial expressions, micro expressions? And then how should I then tweak
Right.
maybe my narrative and my presentation?
Yeah.
Right. To ensure that, hey, this message actually lands with everybody. So I don't know whether it helps in the CEO role. Let me think about it. But I think it helped, I think career-wise. You know, I think how do you frame everything? But I think it made me also maybe quite agile and a bit of a chameleon. And I think what I'm quite proud of, I think I know how to talk to different types of people, right? Whether it's a board level type person, right? Or an investor, right? Or our teams, right? Or someone junior, right? Or an intern. I think I'm generally quite comfortable in all these different situations to adapt.
Okay.
Right. And I think maybe that's part of like a marketing. Yeah. So, right. Like you have to know your audience,
Yeah,
first and foremost.
exactly.
Knowing your audience.
Yeah.
And then adapting and applying
Correct.
it to the audience.
Yeah.
And ensuring that, hey, things land, right? If a certain jargon like has not landed, okay, how do you pause? How do you stop? How do you pivot?
Yeah.
How do you share an anecdote at that moment as well, and maybe simplify the message? So I do think, yes, I think then that helps, you know, to your question.
Like you're
As a
not
CEO, I think, yes, it helps, right?
You're not in an ivory castle, right? You know
Yeah.
what the people are talking about.
Yes.
You know the sentiments. I think marketers have a great sense of intuition. They understand the real world sort of problems that are happening.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, they are
Yeah.
able to cater that message
Yeah.
that makes employees as well as consumers feel like, okay, they're hearing me, right? So that I guess that's what I kind of meant by
Yeah.
like, did it help
Yeah,
you keep
yeah. No, that's true. And I think maybe also just having gone through the ranks. I think I
Yeah.
did come from a founder path, right? So I think
Yeah.
a bit different. And having gone through the ranks in different types of organization, I think as you said, I think makes you think, of course, very naturally
Yeah.
from an employee standpoint as well.
Yeah.
Right? How different policies land, how this, you know, would
Yeah.
affect them. Would this incentivize them and excite them as well? You
Correct.
start thinking, right, about all these different things.
Yeah.
Then if anything else also, of course, I think then being a marketer quite naturally also is you are always thinking customer first.
Yeah.
I do think like, I think every CEO and founder I think would naturally, right, and always put the customer at that seat as well. But I do think then yes, you're always thinking about the customer's perspective.
Gotcha.
And fine, maybe fair. I think a conversation Rich and I have had over time also is sometimes it doesn't come so second nature, to be honest, right? I think for a lot of people, right, where you're always thinking about, is this commercial enough, right? Is this easy to understand, right? Is this and attractive enough, right? Messaging, packaging, design, whatnot, and how do you ensure, right, that it's intuitive as well? So yeah, I think then that's something, right? I think honestly, I think then between the both of us, I think we are quite strong and we do that quite a bit.
Got you.
But yeah, to your question, and yes, funnily enough, I have been talking about this also and have been reflecting on this with Rach and with my team, even internally as well. I must say, maybe for anyone who comes from a past functional expertise experience, I would say quite naturally, you probably have a higher standard of excellence, fair or not fair, but a higher standard of excellence for that particular domain.
Sure.
Because it has been your experience, right? You
Yeah.
have known it the best. You've done it deeply. You've done it hands-on as well.
Yeah.
So for sure, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, maybe I guess teams cannot bullshit you as much, right? Because if they tell you, I cannot do this, cannot, and like how and why, you will understand naturally also the nuances of it and be
Yes.
like, really? Is that so? All right. And you may challenge that a little bit more, I think quite naturally, if it's your domain. But on the whole sort of marketing, communication, very recently also, I think we were also doing our own, right, sort of like strategy offsite, right, reflections as well. But sometimes also ensuring that, hey, we also audit ourselves
Yeah.
very, very thoroughly, right? and
Yeah.
Very tightly and be like, hey, especially when it comes to marketing, branding, messaging, less is more.
Yeah.
Right? Can we simplify it, right? Such that everyone understands.
So how do you stay true to the, your humble roots of being a blog shop first, while you're trying to internationalize the brand as well, right? Because there are people like me that have followed the brand since my university days, right? And now I'm seeing it take over the rest of the world. I see you expanding heavily. So how do you balance that, who we are and also at the same time the reach to the different markets?
I think we're always very, very clear, right, around our purpose as a brand.
Yeah.
Right? That we know, right? I think we exist to really celebrate, uplift the Asian woman. 15 years ago, right? I think that was a gap where Rach and the founders saw, right, in this region where, hey, I think there are many brands coming to the region, right? High street brands, international brands, but we as Asian women felt that nothing really fit us that well, right? From a sizing perspective, proportions, right? Even color, even seasonality, and of course also actually representation, right? But I don't think that was something that maybe was part of the narrative of conversations back then. Yes, I think there's more of that conversation, and it's actually rather important for us to also be at the forefront of the conversation. So I would say, I think from how we started, that was the mission, right? I don't think that has changed. To be honest, I would say I think it's even more important. If anything, it evolved a lot more over time. Right, I'll give you some examples. Like back in the day, when we were so adamant, even about using Asian models. Right, back in the day, we even had customers write to us, and they would ask like, "Oh, why are you not using Caucasian models?" And these are customers here. But because 10 years ago, actually, if you think about it, before the whole Asian pride movement, all of that conversation, actually having Western models in a catalog, that was a thing. Or rather, that was standard.
Yeah.
And maybe to everyone, maybe that is also the signal of quality, right, of being elevated, right? And they were like, hey, why are you not doing that? Right?
That's a pan-Asian
Everyone's
face,
doing that,
Yeah.
So, but I think we stuck to that. We stuck to our roots, and we were like, okay, I think for us it's important. Then after a while, it became cool, right? Or rather, it became a thing, right? After Crazy Rich Asians, right, there was a lot more conversation on in media, and you see that also with as brands evolve, right? And I saw that when I was at Sephora, right? When Rihanna first launched Fenty, overnight also the expectation of also just what a brand should have, right? When it comes to foundations, the number of shades, the number of variants or color change, right? Of like, you can't just have 4 variants. There are all the in-betweens, and we're much more diverse than that. No, I think for us, it's more, if anything, I think the mission it's just our compass, right? Of, okay, this is why we exist.
Yeah.
If anything, then maybe the nuance of it is slightly different, right? As you
Yeah.
go to different markets, of course, right? What it means to be Asian, we have to be a lot more diverse as well.
Yeah.
Right? Versus maybe the Singapore context, then
Yes.
it's different. Right? And maybe then language. When I talk about simplicity now, we try to test it, and I tell the teams also, and we try to remind ourselves, like, hey, actually in Southeast Asia, Singapore is one of the few markets also where English is also what we're also comfortable with.
Yeah.
But in other markets, actually, it has to go similar.
Yeah.
Everyone, and you want someone to just understand that first headline, understand that first sentence very easily. And I would say, I think that if anything, it's being inclusive, right, and being respectful and rather more inclusive, very thoughtful to the communities that you're serving.
Yeah. what does the ideal Love Bonito girl look like?
All these trick questions. Then I'll be like, there is no ideal. I don't know how to explain that,
fair.
right? But I
Just
think
confidence.
maybe the
Yeah.
essence would be, I mean, we would hope, but I think the essence for what we want her to be and would be, I think someone who is herself, who's comfortable. And I think in today's day and age, actually, being yourself is actually it's not so easy.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, honestly. Right? To maybe
Absolutely.
cut the noise and also first listen to who you are, what you want to be, and what you truly believe in, and be true to that. And then after that, having the courage, right, and the balls to do that.
Just go for it.
Yes. It's actually not that easy. I think I'm also learning, right, every day. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, IWD can feel quite performative for brands, right? And I guess you guys are so much about the inner self, being true to who you are, your authentic self. How do you ensure that Love Bonito's empowerment initiatives sort of integrate into the business model rather than when it's campaign season?
No, that's why. Exactly. I think for us, I think we've always believed that we're that, right? And we should be that
Yeah.
all year, 365 days of the year, right? I think given
Exactly.
who we are as a brand.
Yeah.
So again, I think it starts with just how we operate, to your point, right? The business. So when it comes to, let's say, our clothing or all of that today, and it's no surprise, right? I think we all know the fashion industry is one of the biggest culprits, right, when it comes to waste. So we try to ensure that we really manage this well. If there's also, let's say, older inventory, for example, part of Give to Gain, right, at IWD, been working with organizations, female organizations like Daughters of Tomorrow. So they would be our staple, right? We've worked with a few in the past, actually, Babes, Daughters of Tomorrow, all of that. But we've also wanted to focus, right? Because we don't want it to be too much.
Yeah.
That we can't actually give enough.
Yeah.
But to also focus and have it very meaningful. So example, we have sort of a few couple of parts. So last year we did styling workshops where we invited underprivileged women, right, part of Daughters of Tomorrow, and they're part of the community. They came down to our Funan store. We had a session on like styling. So like either there may be women who lost their jobs in between, right, trying to look for something. So the whole workshop was more around like confidence, right? How do you dress for different occasions? And then we supported with either credit vouchers and they could go around shop, get the outfit to boost their confidence to go back into the workforce. When we first started this was during post-pandemic, quite early on actually, quite a while back. And we did this also back then. It was the same thing, right? I think women who lost their jobs in transition, then we partnered up actually with Sephora, right? So they got a makeover to then take their profile picture, right? To gain their confidence, maybe update their LinkedIn, so they can start looking, right? And then we would give them their first outfit as well for their interviews.
Oh, that's
If we continue to do that. So now with Daughters of Tomorrow, for example, also some of our aged items, so if they've gone through like the markdowns, the 11/11, still not selling right, after a couple of years, we would then also donate it, right, to the organization, and then same process as well.
Yeah.
And then today in our stores, you also have the option if you want to actually donate. And give a few dollars, right? Let's say with every transaction, and it goes straight to Daughters of Tomorrow as well. So I think that's how we weave it in into the day-to-day. And I think that's important.
I
That's
love
more
that.
tangible.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really nice to hear. Asked you about the relationship with Rachel. Because I always find it's so wonderful when we see women lift each other up. And I always think that as we rise, we need to lift each other, right? But I'm sure outside of the empowerment and enablement that we see of you guys and your relationship, the camaraderie, there are differences that happen, right, behind closed doors. How do you ensure that, business stays business and outside and doesn't spill over to the outside world? Because you're kind of friends first.
Yeah. I think we're friends first, and I think we started off also working together with a good friendship.
Yeah. I'd be so scared to work with my friends.
Oh, really? Okay. I think maybe I think in the other camp.
Yeah.
Quite interestingly, I don't know why. It's okay. You also know which friends, right? You can work with, more compatible with, right? To be honest. Okay, I've always just believed that. I think if you have a deeper relationship, and it started off already, I think in a safe space, you're comfortable with each other, and you've had fun together, but have also had difficult conversations together. If anything, it should make you better business partners, hopefully.
Okay.
I think in my idealistic world. But no, so if anything, I think so far, we've always been very comfortable to have just open conversations or pull each other aside if there's something, right, I think we need to talk about. And to be honest, we've always been very comfortable, just disagreeing, debating, with each other, and then just being okay after.
Okay.
And
It's over and done.
yeah. I think so far, trust that, yeah, it's not personal.
Yeah.
And we both just want the best, right, for the business. Yeah, and I would say I think now have had quite a good friendship, right? And we're quite integrated into each other's lives, lah. So it comes
it.
quite. It actually comes quite naturally.
Yeah.
If anything, so funny, Rach and I were reflecting. I think sometimes where I can be irritating, maybe her less so. I think maybe in the past, right? Sometimes there are no boundaries, right? So we talk about work all the time, right?
Okay.
It can be work on Telegram, work on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Suddenly got a work idea come out on Slack.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I think with us then it's wow, we're like omnipresent discussing work.
Yeah.
Which sometimes it's like, okay, we need boundaries, or we're like, oh, it's getting a bit inefficient rather because it gets very messy.
Because you're talking in all
and you
platforms,
can't reference back.
Correct,
I can't remember when I last told her this idea.
Yeah.
Was it on telly or was it on Slack?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's something that we need to get better at. And I think yes, then with your friends, it gets a little bit messy.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anything, I've brought in also past friends actually into Love Bonito.
Okay.
Past colleagues as well. And everything, yeah, I do
And
like
then when
that.
they leave, doesn't it feel personal?
Okay, that one, no, not. I guess when they leave, to be candid, I think when colleagues I worked with in the past or friends, right, I think the first batch, they left after like 5-6 years. Personal, not so much. I think everyone has different seasons, but rather sometimes I think you feel you're like left behind. You're like, oh, you get a little bit sad, right? And you're like, oh no, like, oh, everyone's moving on, right? And you just genuinely ask
get that.
yourself, should I move on too?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think more of that feeling.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing an excellent job, so I don't think you should leave
Oh
anytime
gosh,
soon.
okay, thank you.
But I also like want to wrap up on something that I felt so strongly when I stalked you on Instagram, not just LinkedIn. I also stalked you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And your journey is so real. You talk about, young people career hopping. You also talked about your own egg freezing journey, how difficult that was. And I always wondered, when do you know what to let in and what to share with the public and what to really keep close to your chest?
For Instagram, for example, I think just in terms of like the content, I mean, it's been a very uncomfortable journey. I think if you notice also, there hasn't been any reels recently. I think I've been like, should I continue this or not, right? Because I think it doesn't come second nature to me. I'm a little bit uncomfortable. So honestly, the prep work towards it and after it kind of drains me. And I'm like, is this what I want to do or not in 2026?
Yeah.
Right? But I think at least for parts of 2025, when I was committing to that, I just felt they were important conversations. Right? I think for me, it was more about, I think it's an important conversation that people should be having.
Yeah.
I think that's about it, right? I think for the egg freezing part especially, I think when I was kind of on my journey, if not for a friend who had gone through it before, I don't know, it's a little bit hard sometimes to find information.
Yeah.
Because the legislation is only changed quite recently, right? Elective egg freezing. So there's just not enough literature online. So it's just a bit of a confusion.
I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And actually, I sent it to a friend who was thinking about it as well. So, yeah, I think those are important conversations.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best conversations on platforms like Instagram are the real ones.
Yeah.
For people that who you sort of know in your community talking about important matters, that's actually where real value exchange happens.
Definitely. I think I'm starting to see the value of like just putting some content out that could be valuable.
Yeah.
But 100% right. I think it's so uncomfortable. Then you feel like, is it too personal? And you start being also conscious, of course, right? Because it lives there, right? In the
it never
in
goes
social
away.
media, right? For a while. I mean, unless you hide it, and delete it, which I guess you still can. But then
still
there are
find it,
comments
I'm
which you
sure.
have to be comfortable,
Yeah.
right? To also just receive,
Yes.
to not be so affected
I
by
think
them.
that part I would struggle.
Yeah,
with,
I think that's the part that's uncomfortable. And then you worry, right? Even before publishing, like, what would people say? How did I look? Did I sound stupid? Right? Was it okay? I think so that's tough. I think I'm still grappling with that. But I think I definitely see the value of yes, I think just having certain conversations out there. If anything, maybe, right? I think if it's like a live event, I think I would be more comfortable. I think that's why I'm rather comfortable on panels. Because I think at least you're sharing something valuable. But it exists usually if people don't record you for that moment in time, right? For that 1 hour, and then
this is gonna exist.
Yeah, and then it's done. Yeah.
Well, no, I think that's probably your own way to give to gain, don't you think?
Yeah.
To have these people listen to your journeys and learn from it. I mean, that was going to be my final question because it's this year's theme is give to gain, and you spoke about how Love Bonito gives and gains. gains. And on your own front, how do you give to gain?
Yeah, I think I saw that as a step, right?
Yeah.
I think, and having sometimes, I think maybe just even the younger ones come up to you and be like, hey, I saw that, I found that really helpful.
Yeah.
And to be honest, sometimes when you're doing that, you think it's helpful, but you don't even think it's that helpful, right? And it's nice to then hear that and be like, okay, right, I think something small like that could be helpful to someone else. And instead of them scouring or having to do a lot more of their own research, but I do think, of course, everyone should do their own research as well and have their own perspective.
Yeah.
But it's just helpful, right? Maybe to just learn. And I think for me as well, maybe in a smaller context, I think even with Love Bonito, right? I think I hope that, I think we can create an organization where, end of the day also, I do feel as management and as, I think running an organization, if you can balance positivity with productivity, I think that's that really sweet spot.
Yeah.
Right? And the balance that you want to do, I would hope that we can give that type of environment, right, to all of our teams. I would hope also, and why I do feel quite strongly, right, culture-wise, when we talk about authenticity, I think we want to be that place also where people feel like, hey, I can just come to work, be myself, and become a better version of myself. And because we all spend 70% of our waking time usually at work, right? I think for most of us.
Absolutely.
So why shouldn't we enjoy
Yeah.
right, the environment? Why shouldn't we be able to be ourselves?
Yeah.
Right? And why can't we also make meaningful friendships and relationships also from the workplace?
Yeah.
Which is, right, I think, where we all spend so much time. So I think that's also then my way of giving, right? I think in a smaller construct. And then of course some advisorships or whatnot you call it, right? Whether it's maybe just someone's picking up a phone with someone, answering questions, try to help. Because I do think that we also make the environment and we help each other get stronger as well, right?
Yeah.
We sharpen each other up as well. I think so. That's always good, right? I think for the entire ecosystem.
Absolutely. No, thank you very much for that. And I really appreciate it. Rachel's going to be at our Content 360 panel, and I'm looking forward to having her share a little bit more as well on her own journey as well as Love Bonitos. And I'm very grateful that you made time for us despite your water fast. And I'm glad we caught you on the first day and we learned so much on what you've been up to. So thank you for joining us in the studio.
Yeah, thank you so much.
To our listeners out there, fear not, although this interview with Dione Song of Love Bonito is over, we've got tons of other episodes you can catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Interactive's social media pages on Telegram, Instagram, LinkedIn to get alerts on new podcast episodes. And once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Happy International Women's Day, everyone.